old world charm, doo-doo-doo-doo. That old world charm, reviews say it's alright.
Hello, lovelies out there of this old world. Welcome to another episode of That Old World Charm. We are missing our sweet meats, but the Falcon and myself, Adam Camilleri, are here to take you through some of the best and brightest of events that have been unfolding thus far in the old world. This episode is pretty much just going to be talking about event results, what is winning, what is doing well, where we are in the current state of the event game, not necessarily saying the competitive game, because I don't know if we're quite ready to throw that title at any events thus far, but we're definitely getting a meta forming for the old world, which is extremely exciting, and we're here to help you unpack it and get a little bit of insight into what's moving and shaking out there in this big old world. Of course, this is a two-part podcast. First part comes out lovingly created by our wonderful skink priest, Dickie. Thank you very much, sir, for all you do for us. We are greatly appreciated and greatly grateful. And then over on part two, your Falcon and I, and hopefully Daniel will join us by then, are going to be spinning some wiles and just talking some smack about what we love about the game and where we're at and all those things and bits and bobs and any other topics our patrons have thrown out. And if you want to get in on that goodness, go over to Patreon and search That Old World Charm, and you can get involved too. We have a beautiful Discord community, people playing games here, there, and everywhere, and it is a very good time. Falcon, my man, my sugar, my baby, my honey, my baby. I'm not going to do that. How are you doing, my man? And where are you at right now with the old world?
My baby. Oh, thank you, Adam. I'm doing great. It's been a pleasure. I've been chatting up a lot with some of our friends and colleagues from around the world on Old World. I've been doing a lot of Theory Hammer. This last week, I didn't really get any chance to put models on a table or on Warhol because I was a little busy with the kids. I planned a game with Val Heffelfinger from Square-Based, a rematch from our previous week's game. But unfortunately, the NFL draft got in the way. So not much going on game-wise this last week. The week prior, I did play a quick game against Simon, or Val, and got another game in with my Warriors of Chaos. So 2 games in with the Warriors of Chaos. Feeling really nice with them. And waiting for my new orc army to come in. I'm real excited. I've got a nomad list that is being 3D printed as we speak, and I'm really, really excited to start putting them on the table.
Yeah, it just seems like such a fun way to play the game. The nomads, I think, are one of the gold standards for exciting play on the table. I really think they're quite something. Keen to hear about your list as well. Maybe I'll ask some questions about that in part 2, what you're taking and why, and what you think it's good, bad into, et cetera, et cetera. But you have a bit of a tale as a statistician in the game of tabletop war games. Tell us a little bit about your journey there, and then what you've got for us event result-wise going into the rest of this podcast.
Sure. So, in my previous career, I guess, in the Warhammer world, I started out being the guy that did all of the stats for Warhammer 40K. I was the first one to do it, I guess. And I created a website, 40kstats.com. I had a podcast with Val Heffelfinger, 40K Stats Center, where we would go over the stats and, solidified like how another way to look at the game. Because prior to 5-6 years ago, we only ever went based off of hearsay and what people said might be good.
Yep.
And then Val and I, we started actually going in depth on every event and breaking down lists and players and talking to the actual TOs, talking to the players. And it was a really good time, a little tongue in cheek, but we did cover everything. And then I was digging into every single list and every single game that was being played at 40K at a tournament level to see what was working and what wasn't, what the big name players were taking. So that it's been a thing that I have enjoyed doing. I still do it, although most of it's automated now on 40K Stats through Goonhammer. And also, the guys at StatCheck do an amazing job at breaking things down because my life got a little too hectic to be able to count all of the beans all of the time. And also, my love has shifted back into the old world, whereas before I didn't have it as an option. So I was digging deep into 40K and a little bit into AOS, but old world's here. I don't think we're at a place right now where stats matter yet. We only get 1 or 2 GTs a week. and a GT for those listening who don't follow like tournament coverage or anything like that. General standard for a GT level event is an event that has 25 plus players and goes at least 5 rounds. Generally, with that, you get a pretty good idea of who's playing to win, what lists are working, what players are playing at the top level. Because unlike at an RTT, like a smaller 3-round event, you're more apt at 5 rounds to play all of the good players or most of the good players at an event.
Or more often than not, play at least 2 to 3 rounds with your subset of the game. If you are just playing casually for fun, by the end of 5 rounds, you have played more of those opponents than not, et cetera, et cetera. And that's
exactly.
can be, assumed to be true for, I suppose the 3 kind of subsets that we would have for any game, which is the people who just, the casual player who just rocks up. Maybe they play 1 or 2 events a year. They just rock up, have a good time, take in the models that they love. And nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I think that might be one of the best ways to play the old world. Then you have the kind of competitive casual, people who go to 3 or more events a year. They like to stay informed about what is good, but they don't necessarily want to always, list tailor or take min-maxing stuff for the best things possible. And then you have the competitive players who are there just to try their best, compete at the highest level and test their mettle. And then everything in between.
Now, Adam, I just got word. I was looking deep into the unknown, into the ether, and our good friend, Danny Sweetmeat McDevitt, is actually alive. I thought he was having palpitations, but apparently he's here with us now. We summoned him from the void. Danny, I missed you. I love you. You're my baby. How are you?
Thanks for the invocation there, Peter. I really needed that. I'm not up to full starting strength yet, but I'm here and I'm alive.
He's alive.
I'm glad to hear it. I don't know if you caught what we were just introing, talking a little bit about tournament play, because that's going to be the episode today.
Cool.
Going over some lists from the last few GTs and explaining to our audience what a GT even is and why it may matter a little more in some cases than, say, an RTT.
Oh, yeah. Makes a huge difference. The number of people there really kind of allows for skill expression to show a little bit more. If you can win 5 games and not drop any, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
absolutely is. And while we do acknowledge on this show that the competitive way of playing the game may not be for everybody, we certainly want to be a show that keeps people informed about what is moving and shaking out there, and so people aren't left talking around the water cooler and someone just states that Empire is the best army in the game, and you slap that straight out of their filthy mouth and you say, go back to your steam tank. You do not know. You do not actually know. I heard on that old world charm that vampire counts are in fact running the races at the moment, and or a myriad of different things. That was just the first one that came to mind. But yeah, we're definitely here to keep you informed. That's one of the modus operandi of this show. And definitely as the game is forming, I think it's really exciting and to pay attention to what is doing well, what isn't doing well, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully you'll have all that and more by the time you finished this, possibly 60-minute episode. But Danny, how are you doing, brother? Are you a bit under the weather? What's going on?
Oh, no, I've just been, I graduate in 2 weeks, so I've just been finishing up. I have a lot of projects due at the end of the semester, a lot of study and that kind of stuff. So I've been a little underwater. So,
well, are you trying to be some kind of diver, scuba diver?
No, underwater basket weaver, actually.
There we go. There it is.
Yeah,
Danny the net mender.
That's right.
All right. So Peter's just been giving us a bit of a rundown of his history as a statistician in our great games of the tabletop variety. Danny, what's been your experience of statistics, and how have they, informed your play, informed your games and your enjoyment of such?
I use it as a tool to see if like statistics back up like what my anecdotal experience is with the game.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's more of a okay, yeah, no, I understand what's happening with the game kind of a check, not a I base all of my opinions and that kind of stuff off of data, which is pretty hard to do. Especially when skill expression is a part of this game, right? So some things that some people just are really good, and it doesn't matter what kind of army they pick up, they're just going to do well with it. Whereas, and every army has a path to victory in old world, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody's like out of the running for like there's no games where it's like, well, I cannot possibly win this unless a bunch of other things like cascade and happen. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I remember playing some Team 8th edition stuff where I'd play into my reddest of red matchups and I'd find a line where it was just like, all right, well, I just need this guy to fail a 10 rerollable leadership check, make his Death Star turn around for one turn, and I can just flip this into something very respectable. And, you play for those lines in the old world. And I think that's really, really cool. But I echo your sentiments completely. I use statistics and stuff like, tracking event stats and metrics like that to not I guess inform my thought, but to fact check myself. Like what do I believe is true about the game, about my meta, and about the way I'm playing, and does that measure up with the rest of the world? And if not, why? And if so, good. That kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But jumping straight into the meat and potatoes, Falcon, we've done enough foreplay here. Tell us a little bit about how many events we have on display so far for the old world, and what kind of amount of games do you have under your belt tracking wise?
Like I said, because we're so low, I'm not tracking a lot. I'm just I'm going into each actual event, taking a look at what's doing well, trying to categorize things. And every week these days, we're getting, I don't know, 2, 3, sometimes just 1 GT level events for Old World, which is amazing because, if we look at 40K, that was roughly what we were getting 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
At the beginning-ish of 8th edition before it went a little crazy. So we don't have enough to actually use the stats part, but we can use it to get samples of what's working. The other thing to consider about Old World that we don't have as much with other GW game systems right now, and something we've talked about on the show a lot, is with the Old World and like Warhammer Fantasy Battle style events, we are real keen on making our own rules and creating our own facts. And that's not something that is as common in other play styles. Like we do see FAQs for 40K like that are personalized, but maybe not to the same level that we would see with the Old World, where we'll implement our own, rules of 3, or you can only take one quote unquote Lord level character, or 1999 +1, etc. Right? And so that changes things up again from a stats level. So until we get really big things, I'm not really doing stats. I'm just looking at what's working. And in the last 2 weeks, we had 3 GT level events, and they've got some pretty interesting results. So,
well, sling from the hip, mate. Fire off. Let's go.
I think the first thing we should probably want to talk about is let's go through the 2 smaller events that we've had, and then we'll talk about the big GW one, because I think it kind of shows the difference between players playing with a more modified rule set, because the GW event was at 1,500 points, so that kind of really restricts things. Plus, it was also only non-legacy armies, right? It was only the book armies.
True.
And so that drastically is going to change what works and what doesn't in the meta. So our 2 GT level events, we had Fantasia Fanatic, 45 for the Old World. This is a long-running event, obviously, Fantasia Fanatic. It's been going on. They run like 5 of them a year. In a really cool building. I believe it's still in like the Dragon's Den something or other gymnasium
in EMEA, Sweden. Fantastic cohort.
Yeah, and they're all really good guys. And so this event was won by Orcs and Goblins.
Ooh, spicy. Okay.
It was the only list that went 5-0.
Nice.
I believe, they did allow legacy armies, because they did have some Chaos Dwarf players in attendance and some Dark Elves. Orcs and Goblins was the winning list. It was the only 5-0 list. Marcus Osterling, he ran a Black Orc, a War Boss on a Wyvern with the Troll Hide and Talisman of Protection. And a great weapon. He had a Foot Weird Knob with a Ruby Ring and an Idol of Gork with Wog Magic, a Black Orc Big Boss Battle Standard Bearer with the Charm Shield and Troll Hide, plus War Banner, 2 Night Goblin war bosses that were basically bare bones on giant cave squigs.
Oh yeah.
A huge block of, well, I shouldn't say huge, but big for what it was. Black Orc mob, 18 of them with shields and great weapons, with the big red raggedy flag. 2 units of 24 Night Goblins with 3 Fanatics each. A small 5-man Black Orc mob, because you need to take that if you want 2 Black Orc characters. 2 singular River Trolls, a Rock Lava, and 2 Doom Divers.
Ooh, so actually relatively heavy on the artillery pieces there, but also having just the majority of the mainstays that we've come to expect, like the Wyvern boss, 2 units of Night Goblins, the big unit of Black Orcs. Well, actually, that's actually really weird that it's not a bigger unit of Black Orcs. I always see the 18 somewhere between like 15 and 20. And I always think like, man, why don't you just send it and go for a big, like, 25 plus? But 18 seems to be the right number for the game at the moment. So it's obviously working for him. As for like the nonsense in that list, the 2 single trolls, I think is real cute.
I feel okay about the cool thing about trolls is it's not impetuous chaff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like that part, because like you get the like a river troll with a great weapon is like the same exact points cost as a goblin wolf chariot. I've been doing this analysis like a lot lately, trying to figure out what kind of chaff I want in my list.
Yeah.
And so like it's cool like to not be impetuous, but also I think I like wolf chariots better. But it's something I've been considering. I like it way better in the troll horde than I do in the list.
Yeah, I mean it's 4 wounds, so it's the same as the Goblin Wolf Chariot. It's slower, stupidity over impetuous, so you actually have a slightly better chance because it's leadership 9 on the Black War Boss.
Yeah,
Black Orc War Boss. I really like that tech. The 5 Black Orcs, like they're just going to stand around in the back and probably do nothing. Yeah, it's a really interesting list. It's definitely is a list that can just sit back if it needs to and let you come to it, right? Because of the Fanatics, the bigger block of Black Orcs. I think the reason why you don't go to 24, 25, I mean, this unit's already going to be 600-ish points once you put the Weird Knob and the big boss in it, 700 points even. So if the bad happens and you do fail your panic test, right? That's a ton of points already just flying off the board.
Yeah.
That said, this is a weapon skill 4 unit with the red raggedy flag, or 5, right? They're weapon skill 4 base.
Yeah. Yep.
So weapon skill 5, they're getting +2 static combat res, plus an additional 2 more from, my guess is he's going 6x3 in this.
6x3, yeah, for sure. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
you could also by 5 because you'll need. Remember, you only need 4.
You only need 4, right? So 5x4, and then you're still getting plus. So now you're getting +3 from that, right? Or plus, you still only get +2. Anyway,
But
you have a 4. You have like 6 casualties you can take.
Yeah.
You start losing combat res, which is a lot.
So so you get massive static combat res out of this unit. Wog magic really helps buff them up when they're hitting combat. And like that Black Orc Big Boss doesn't die to a whole lot. He's got a 3+ armor save. He's going to have a ward save from the Charm Shield and plus his regen. Yeah, I really like this list. It's kind of stock standard. The Fanatics do a lot of work for you against the stuff that you don't like. And I still, even though I have been told they are not, love Doom Divers. I think they're just amazing. Love them to death.
Well, so I love what you said about this is the orc list that kind of sits back, because there are so many levels of deterrent to pushing on this list. And of course, everyone has the psychological toll of having to like go and get the Fanatics out of the Night Goblin units. It's such a heinous position to be put in. Be like, I have to go second versus 4 artillery pieces, and then I have to eat the Fanatics. I have to negotiate the Wyvern boss, and then when I get there, I get charged by Black Orcs. It's actually a pretty sick balance he's got to this list. So I do rate it, especially when I sit back and I think about how it would actually logistically function on the table. I think it's really well put together.
This list reminds me a lot of like the typical Orcs and Goblins list from like 8th edition.
Yes, it does.
Like a little bit of artillery, a little bit of rank stuff, a little bit of hitting stuff. It's just the Wyvern is good now, so that's cool.
Yeah, well, so the only unit that from almost like the only unit missing from this is, I suppose, the Doom Divers would have been Bolt Throwers back in the day, and it would have been Savage Orc Biggins, and then usually it was probably around the same size unit, the Black Orcs, around the 20 mark, and they function both as a bunker and an anvil and a hammer because they're just that good. But then the super unit was the Savage Orc Biggins, and I suppose they don't make the cut anymore, and the Wyvern Boss is essentially just like a faster power unit. For a lot of different matchups. Sorry.
I was going to say, I get why like you would take the Black Orcs over the Savage Boys, but man, the Savage Boys are really good.
I just feel like they die. Like, they just kind of explode to like misc shooting where they didn't really used to before, but mind you, before we were playing, 30 plus model units, which is pretty disincentivized in the old world now, especially at 2,000 points rather than 2,400. But what actually was the rest of the podium there, Falcon?
So second place, this was Warriors of Chaos. This guy never got to play the Orc and Goblins list. He'd been 20-0ing up until round 4, and then he lost 20-0 to the third place list that ended up playing in the finals against the Orcs and Goblins. So this is Matthias Strom, and he's playing I guess for the standard bare bones Chaos Lord on Dragon. So he's full plate shield, great weapon. He's got just a favor of the gods on it in terms of magic items. So nothing else, because that's still 491 points.
Yeah.
He then has a 300-point Sorcerer Lord level 4.
That's where it is.
With Battle Magic, a Spell Familiar, and the Skull of Catan, and then a level 2 Exalted Sorcerer with Battle Magic, Spell Familiar, and Ruby Ring of Ruin. So he's kind of going with both the Dragon and the Magic Missile Bus.
Yeah.
Like doing, because you take the Sorcerer Lord and the Exalted Sorcerer, put them in the same unit, and then you're putting out 4 or 5 Magic Missiles probably with Battle Magic, plus the Pillars of Fire and the Ruby Ring. Your Exalted Sorcerer is casting essentially as a level 4, and your Sorcerer Lord's casting at like a level 6. So it's pretty powerful. His core is 2 units of Warhounds, just 5 with Vanguard, 14 Chaos Warriors. He's got the Brazen Collar on the champion, so they've got Magic Resist 2. He does have Magic Mark of Tzeentch on it. Hopefully he wasn't stacking those because they do not stack. But regardless, so now this is the bus for his Sorcerer Lord and Exalted Sorcerer. 2 units of 5 Horsemen with Mark of Corn and Flails, Marauders. He's got a Mark of Corn unit of Chaos Ogres, 3 of those with great weapons.
Interesting.
So they're basically great weapons
Guts.
and heavy armor, right? So they're iron guts with frenzy. He's got a Chimera in there, which he paid for regen on. And then 3 Dragon Ogres with great weapons in the Shartak.
Very interesting. So wow. So I have seen this a bit more often than I thought initially, because I thought they were kind of going to get there with the Dragon Lord, Chaos Lord. It's just that he's already killy enough for like 85% of the engagements with like just nothing on him. You only really want to tool him up if he's going to be fighting other dragons. You only really care. And so as soon as you like let go of having to put all the bells and whistles on him, you actually just get a bit more list into your list. And essentially he's got a whole other character in here, the second sorcerer, for the price points of not putting, 100 plus, points on his dragon lord. I really like this list. I think this list is sick.
I like having the Chimera as a secondary target over the dragon. We talked about this in a previous show. I'm kind of fond of the Chimera. It only has 4 or 5 wounds, which is the downfall of it. But with regen and a heavy armor, it does work for its points because it's got a ton of attacks. The Chaos Ogres with the Mark of Corn, I've seen it. I'm not sold on it, but it's not terrible tech. It's doing a lot of stuff. This list is doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I like the variety of units too. It gives you like different options in different situations where things might be like slightly better. Like the ogres are pretty good for their points because they're heavy armor too. So they're like Iron Guts with Frenzy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 4
Yeah.
attacks apiece with a strength 6 great weapon. It seems
Yeah.
pretty good. It's funny that they see those in the same list as the Dragon Ogres. So is this gentleman just like, I don't know which one is better, I'm taking both, or is this gentleman like, I think these are better for different occasions, and I'll do my best to make my general ship show.
The Dragon Ogres are like 70 points cheaper than the Chaos Ogres are 70 points cheaper than the Dragon Ogres. So there's that. So it does make for a decent chaff clearing piece that's like gonna clear the chaff. Your opponent's chaff. You don't really care too much if they get baited, compared to like the bigger units that you're carrying.
Maybe this seems like one of those things where you're like, man, I really want 2 units of Dragon Ogres, but what can I drop to like functionally make one that's like a choice that's like pretty similar but cheaper?
Yeah. What was the bunker for the sorcerers?
It was like 17 Chaos Warriors, I believe is what I said. 15. It looks like 15 Chaos Warriors or 14 Chaos Warriors.
Just shields?
Heavy armor and shields.
I like that a lot. I actually really like that a lot. We may have finally found a reason to take Warriors of Chaos and Warriors of Chaos. Because when you get into those shooting matchups, your bunker is so much more durable than their bunker. Especially when if you want to just sit back and just sling magic missiles and artillery at each other. Like Warriors of Chaos just do not care about the vast majority of template weapons. They are very resilient, whereas, other people are sitting in zombies, other people are sitting in skeleton units, goblin units, and, your magic missiles shred through them, causing panics every turn where you're killing, stripping 2 or 3 warriors, maybe, casting into really good dispels. So I like that bunker a lot.
After my games last week with the Chaos Warrior list I built, the Chosen Chaos Warrior bunker is like my new
jam. Well, because it kills stuff as well, right? You can just decide to be like, well, this is actually just another power unit in my army. Push it. It's
expensive. Like, it's super expensive. This unit's like, 250 points. Mine's like 400 when it's all said and done.
Fair.
But I got drilled. I've got a 3+ armor save and a 6+ ward. I'm in love.
Fair.
I'm also in love with being able to march them 36 inches if you cast the demonology spell on them.
You make me sick.
It's so good. Anyway, which I've done 3 times in 2 games, and every time I was like, I love it. Like, anyway, the third place army, the one that lost in the final, the one that beat this Warriors Chaos army pretty handily, Peter Walema, Beastman Brayherds. I've been 50-50 on Beastmen being a good army. Like, I think that most of the armies in this game are competitive enough. Like, the balance isn't terrible. But Beastman has been one where, like, I go week to week from being, this is a great army, to being like, I don't know if this is a good army. But the results, like, they're putting up numbers. So I feel like they're there. So he's got a Great Bray Shaman on foot with Elementalism, level 4. Bray staff on him, nothing, just kind of plain Jane, 180 points. He's got a second Great Bray Shaman, and this one's on a Tuskgore Chariot. He's got the Talisman of Protection, the Hag Tree Fetish, Ruby Ring of Ruin, and Elementalism. I don't know if this was playing with the FAQ yet. I assume they were, so he wasn't getting reroll wounds on the Ruby Ring, but it's still, like, on a Chariot, you have 360 vision. It's
amazing.
It still works out, right? Then he's got a Wargore on a Tuskgore Chariot with just a Great Weapon and Battle Standard Bearer.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's got a Gorbull with the Armor of Meteoric Iron, Charmed Shield, and Slugskin. It's an interesting combo because he's not getting the armor benefit from the Charmed Shield to go along with the Armor of Meteoric Iron, since it can't be improved. We'll see what's going on there. Then he's got, looks like 19 Gores, another unit of 5 Gores with Ambushers, 10 Ungors with short bows and Ambushers, 2 singular Razor Gores, another Tuskgore Chariot, a squad of 2 Minotaurs with Ambushers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow.
2 units of 3 Dragon Ogres with great weapons, and then a third singular Dragon Ogre with great weapon.
I can see how this did well into the Warriors of Chaos. It's just too many targets. It's too many targets too often. too many. We have a term in 40k called activation lock your opponent, as in like they don't have enough activations to account for what you're bringing. And this list is pushing the upper extents of like you only have so many shots, you only have so many magic missiles, you only have so many declarable charges or relevant units, and I am just everywhere all the time. I think this is sick. How many chariots total? Is it 5 or 6?
1, 2. I think it's 4 chariots plus.
Must have misheard.
Well, it's still like it's a ton of bodies. You're right. It is quite the activation army. And the big thing is like especially against that chaos army is with that dragon being bare bones, not bothering with the regen, not bothering with like an ogre blade or anything like that. Although I don't think ogre blade helps in this matchup, except maybe against the Bray Shaman on the chariot, is like you don't have that extra layer of defense against Viletide, because I believe Viletide ignores, is it ward saves and armor, or is it armor and regen?
I think it's armor and regen.
Yeah, it's not ward saves.
Yeah, there's so few things that ignore ward saves.
So so you just have less defense against getting hit by a billion magic missiles. Viletide starts to do serious numbers to you. So your dragon is kind of put out. The dragon also at 500 points doesn't have a great target. Like you can bog it. You can just have him kill 100-point units until until you want to do what you want. With a ton of things in ambush, you also don't care when you fail ambush as much.
Correct.
Have
redundancy.
So much. Mm-hmm.
I was looking at this list when you're reading it out. I was just waiting for the big hammer unit. There really isn't one. It's just a death by 1,000 cuts. Although when I say that, most of these chariots and definitely the Minotaurs as well all pack an absolute punch. I think I got confused when you said the single Razor Gores. I assumed in my head I counted as being Razor Gore chariots. Mm-hmm. But I love this list. I think this list is sick, and I'm the same as you. I swing back and forth on Beastmen being like absolutely amazing. But they do seem to be that one of those lists where if the wheels come off, there's really no putting them back on. Like mid game, there's no real like digging up ability that we've seen from some of the other lists out there, especially like Vampire Counts and Tomb Kings. They can very much dig up and grind. And if it gets stuck into a grindy matchup, a lot of the punch of this list just isn't there. So this is very much a finesse a Beast of Chaos list, which is really exciting.
Yeah, the amount of mobile threat that this can put out is like pretty cool.
Oh, and I look at this list and I'm like, I reckon this list is built to smash Wood Elves. Like just a blitzkrieg straight through Wood Elves.
I mean, I wouldn't like it. I would like the only thing that helps is the elementalism. You're only getting into Wood Elves. You're really only getting the wind blast out of it, right?
Fair, yes, fair.
You don't care about the armor reduction. Whereas that Warriors of Chaos list 100% didn't like that this guy was running double level 4 elemental wizards.
Yeah.
And Viletide only ignores armor, so not having the double save on that dragon definitely hurts. If he gets off a good Viletide, he's probably popping 5 or 6 wounds on that sucker. Not great. Yeah, this is an awesome list. I love it because it's something where I think if you haven't put in a lot of games in this edition yet, you might look at it and be like, what does this even do? Other than that great Bray Shaman, like that's very obvious. The rest of it, I'm not sold on the Gorbel with the way he built it. That might be the one thing. I'm not sure what the deal was, why he took a armor of meteoric iron plus, the charm shield, maybe he just had 5 points.
5 points.
Yeah.
But
other than that, this is a cool list, and that's your Fantasia Fanatic. And I know the Swedes have long been the guys and girls that tore up the old world. They made their own tournament comp for a reason, probably because they weren't as good as everybody else, so they had to. This is cool.
Well, I'm a fan and a stan of that the old Swedish comp, so very much grateful for their efforts over the years. What's the next event?
So the next event that would have happened, and this one happened this weekend. It would have finished only a few hours ago, actually, from when we're recording this.
Hot off the press, baby.
Our good friend Rob Symes from the Squarebase podcast hosted his 5th Squarebase GT. This one, the Rum and Rumble.
They can put whatever numbers they want on that, but there was only one number 1 at the first ever Squarebase. Thank you very much.
That's true. I guess.
I guess. Yeah, sorry.
So the Roman Rumble, I believe, was 23 players. They're a little less than what you would normally call a GT, but they did do 5 rounds. The winner of it is James Ramsey, who I believe also won GT number 4 with a very similar list, and he's running vampire counts. He's actually running a list that we talked about a lot last week, Double Mortis Engine.
Yeah.
But he changed his up because the previous GT was pre-FAQ. So in this one, he's got 2 Master Necromancers.
Wait, let me guess. He windmill slammed a big unit of Graveguard into his list.
Well, yes, that is one of the changes.
We're prophets, boys. Officially prophets.
I believe in his previous list, he had also, instead of taking, he had, I believe, 3 units of zombies and then a unit of ghouls. And in this case, he's windmill slammed 29 Graveguard into the list. Now he does not take Blood Knights, which I think is a terrible decision. But he did take 2 Terrorgeists in their stead in the rare slot. Probably fine. They're just okay. The rest of the list, double Master Necromancer, both level 4s, Mortis Engines, both with Spell Familiars, both with Necromancy. One has Scepter of Noiro, and then he's got a White Lord, just nothing on him. 2 Tomb Banshees. So he's not taking a BSB here, by the way.
Really?
Interesting.
That's
and then he's got 3 units of 20 zombies, and the 29 Graveguard, and yes, double Terrorgeist as the list. And he went 4-0-1. I mean, double Mortis Engine's going to carry you in a lot of games anyway, but
is that 6 screams? Double Terrorgeist, double Banshee, double Mortis Engine?
Yes, that's 6 screams.
That's scary. That's all.
And it's 2 guys basically casting at a +6.
+6, yeah.
Necromancy, so that he's getting off the -2 leadership spell pretty reliably. Terror all across the board. So it's like if he's not playing into other undead, most things are going to be -1 to 3 leadership when he is screaming. So it's a ton of mortals. The only thing, and maybe the I haven't looked into it, maybe Square-based rule that the BSB doesn't let you re-roll your arises. If that's the case, then it makes sense why you didn't bother.
Yeah.
But I probably would. This list, because he's not taking any defenses on the Master Necromancers, he's relying on a 4-up, 5-up. It is susceptible to like a really good Wood Elf list, I would say, or actual cannons.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't play against those, or the cannons don't do what they're supposed to do, this list is going to just tear up a lot of opponents. So,
what came second, man?
Second place. By the way, this list, I said it went 4-0-1. Its draw came against Beastman. Beastman list that ended up in 4th place.
Fascinating.
High Elves came in 2nd place. It looks like they
boo.
It looks like they submarined to victory because they lost 17-3 in round 1 and then won the rest of their games. Michael Klimek, with his list, he's got a Prince on a Star Dragon with the Opal Amulet, Seed of Rebirth, Luckstone, Charm Shield. So just going for as many saves as possible. And then he's got an Archmage on Frostheart Phoenix, level 4 with the Ruby Ring and Silvery Wand. 2 units of 5 Illyrian Reavers. 2 units, looks like a unit of 6 and then a unit of 5 Silver Helms. He's got 6 Dragon Princes with the War Banner, and a Great Eagle and 2 Bolt Throwers.
Cav heavy. I love it. It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, Illyrian Reavers are incredible. They're one of the best fast calves in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Silver Helms are just cheap.
You said bolt throwers? You had 2 bolt throwers?
2 Bolt Throwers, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first bit I grimace at. I'm not massively fans of the bolt throwers. I understand why you would want them in this list though, because they are ostensibly your chaff clear. They're not great at it though.
Yeah, like my experience has been really negative with bolt throwers. I've tried them out a bunch and they just have not worked for me at all. And that could just be me, but I don't really think so. I think you're hitting on 6s a lot with those things.
I've played into them a couple of times. And my opponents, every time I've played into them, have been like, man, bolt throwers suck so bad. And then they only roll 6s against me. Like, it's just, and like the whole time they're complaining about how bad bolt throwers are, they're just wiping out whole units of Blade Guard and stuff. And I'm just like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, to this player's credit, and of course, us backseat, generals over here, we don't know the true ins and outs or how these players, what their experiences have been and what their meta has, decided or dictated that they require in their list. But, obviously this player did extremely well with them. And I think that they just bring a very necessary element to this army. Because, like, if you're playing just like massed cav, the last thing you want to see is like 3 units of hounds that just take away the board from you, and then you just get absolutely mulligan charged. I see them playing a very necessary role.
Third place, Orcs and Goblins, a list that went 4-1. Let's see, Matt Howley, he's got his Wyvern Boss with a Charmed Shield, Choppy's Choppa Trollhide Trousers. He's got a Night Goblin BSB on foot with Wallopas and a Charmed Shield. He's got an Odd Knob with Idol of Gork, Ruby Ring, and Illusion. A second Odd Knob with Wog Magic and the Knobbly Staff. So the thing about Orcs and Goblins that is massively entertaining to me is just how many level 4s they can run, and they can still have a big old wyvern hanging out in the back, right? He's got 3 units of Night Goblin mobs with 3 fanatics each, and a unit of 5 Black Orcs because he needed Black Orcs in order to take a Black Orc boss. He's got a small unit of 5 Boar Boy Biggins, 3 Bolt Throwers, and a Ragnarok Spider, and a Doom Diver.
A Ragnarok, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Go on. Well, this is first time I've heard of an Ragnarok being taken?
I mean, well, they do exist.
You are in fact correct. They are a model that exists.
But it had the one I took had a shaman on the back, because the teleport with that guy is crazy.
It's sick. Yeah, just go. But Bajinga, here's a giant spider in your backfield. Congrats, you're a winner. But this list is kind of cute. It's got a lot. It's got a real menagerie of stuff, all backed up by a really, potent psychic phase. Sorry, magic phase. God damn it. Yeah, I like it a lot. I can see why it did well. It's got so many moving parts, and it's pretty diverse though. Like, it doesn't, like, when you read that out, I was waiting for it to come together in my head as like, what is this list? But it is kind of just like a conglomerate of good stuff played well.
Yep. That's it. It's just,
we did it, boys.
I think I will say, when you have 9 fanatics in your list, sometimes you're just gonna win.
Yep.
Like, sometimes, like, you can play around fanatics, guys. Don't get me wrong, but the way they changed them in this edition, it against a savvy opponent using them,
it's so difficult.
They're gonna fuck you up. They're gonna fuck you up real bad.
Where's the Manglers squeaks though? Where's the Manglers, guys? Everyone's so high on the Manglers. Where's the Manglers?
Of the people that I know that are high on Manglers, they're just high. They're not good.
Hey,
not good. I joke. They're fine. They're fine. But he didn't need them, obviously, because they're not that great. Bolt throwers, 45 points. I'm not sold on them, but they're 45 points. So
they're 45 points. Who cares?
Yeah,
they might do something.
I like those better than RBTs. If I could buy elf, like, just bolt throwers, I would, and not pay.
Yeah. The Orc Boar Boys, I wish they were bigger. 5 is so small. Makes me sad to see 5. Make it, go big, guys. Go big. Go 6. Go big.
Yeah, outrageous. Go from 5 to 6. Hold the phone.
Take
Watch
one
out.
More.
Peter with the hot takes.
That's like twice as many.
Please take one more.
That's like a percentage increase.
If you take anything from me right now, take one more point. That's all I ask.
Well done to all the podium there. Well done to everybody who's getting out there and playing in events the world over. But we have a Warhammer World event, which was played at 1,500 points, had a good deluge of players, and of course, only playing with the. I'm going to go on the front foot on my soapbox and say that's the renegade way to play the game, is to not play with the legacy faction. They're doing it. They're the minority. doing it less than everybody else in the world. But tell us about this event, mate. What's the story?
So sure. So this, it is Warhammer World. They're going to have people show up. It's the old world, the best game. So they've got 56 players that came out, 1,500 points, no legacy armies, and the rule of 3 for everything on the board. So core is rule of 3, everything else is rule of 3, which I think is fine. I like it quite a bit, in fact, especially at 1,500. And what we had...
the 3 fanatics too?
That's an interesting question.
Please let it be so.
Let's look at I'll take a quick look at the best Orcs and Goblins list that did go 4-1. See what he brought. He brought 3 fanatics. No. The guy brought 0 fanatics. He's an absolute monster.
Wow.
The dude brought 60 regular orcs.
That guy.
61.
That's the man. That's the actual big boss. What was this guy's name? Give him a shout out.
Michael Harvey, you came in 4th place. You went 4-1. You had an orc weird knob on foot with no magic items. An orc big boss on a war boar with the choppiest choppa. Nothing else for defense. 3 units of 20 orcs, one with the spider banner.
This is wild.
10 orc boar boys biggins with everything.
Yeah. Hey, that's more than 5. That's more than 5, Peter.
That means he had 11 in the unit because he put his big boss in. Right? That's crazy. Maybe. 2 orc boar chariots, 2 bolt throwers, a giant, and a rock lava.
The Gigante made it in there. What a lad. What an absolute lad.
Yeah, I love it. I love that list. It's like a White Dwarf list, and the fact that he won is like amazing. Or got not won, but got 4th place. Like went 4-1 is a really impressive record, right?
Yeah.
The mad lad looked over and he's like, I got 2 Battle Force boxes. Let's do this. I'll aim a giant. Let's go 4-1. Let's do it.
I love it.
Mad Dog. What was the podium? What was in 1st place?
1st place was Tomb Kings, John Dale. Let's see. He went 4-0-1.
Man with 2 names.
So there were 3 lists that went 4 wins and a draw at this event. Nobody went 5-0.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty impressive for a 56-person event. He was running Mortuary Cult Tomb Kings. He had a level 4 on Steed with Necromancy, no magic items. And he had a level 2 Battle Standard Bearer, Mortuary Priest, Illusion, no magic items. I should check to see if they were just not allowed magic items at this event. Like you're allowed 1 in your list or something, because this is crazy to me. He had 4 Ushabti, 4 Tomb Swarms, 2 units of 5 Horse Archers, a squad of 19 Skeleton Warriors, 2 Tomb Scorpions, 2 Necrosphinxes, and a Casket.
That list is sick.
Dude. The benefit of not taking magic items, I guess, is you can take more stuff, right?
He's got more stuff, yeah. I love the double up duality, the double Scorpion, double Necrosphinx. The single casket, of course, 1,500 points. You got to make some concessions, because you and I were talking in the green room before we started about how much better your army gets when you add the 2nd casket. Because I'm iffy on 1, but 2 is gangbusters. Superbly good. It tilts so many matchups in your favor. So the damage from this list seems to just be magic and Necrosphinxes, right? And then the Scorpions, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Scorpions, they trade up real well. And so if you can catch a Chaos Dragon or something off guard with a 70-point Scorpion, Bob's your uncle, right? You don't care.
Hilarious.
If you lose that fight, oh well. If one of your 4 attacks or 3 attacks goes through and monstrous killing blows him, that's a 600-point trade up boy. It's so
hilarious.
Good.
Yeah,
hilarious. Tell us about the rest, though. Although, are there any insights into this list that I'm missing?
No, I just think so. The thing about 1,500 points that we need to remember is most armies cannot take a really good caster and a really good combat lord, right? They're either just physically not allowed because of 1 per 1,000, or they're locked in just from a points perspective. So I think the big thing about this list is he went bare bones on everything. He only has 300 points in characters, so it let him take a shit ton of other stuff. Whereas anybody else that's investing 400 or 500 points in a character at 1,500 points they just can't, right?
Yeah.
It's similar to that Beastman list we talked about at the beginning, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Diversity.
And at 1500 having double Necrosphinx, I think that's scary for a lot of people.
It really is, right? It really is.
Now for second place, Warriors of Chaos that was undefeated, 4-0-1. He has a Chaos Dragon Lord with a Flail and Mark of Nurgle, the Regen Crown, and Enchanting Aura. So very much a highly defensive Chaos Lord.
Flail as well. Fascinating.
Yeah, rather than Lance, the Flail at least means that if you get charged, you still get that +2 strength, right? So,
and they're always -2 AP on the Flail too, which is nice. So.
Yeah. So really nice there. So kind of like your bog standard bare bones. I shouldn't say bare bones. It's 570 points, but 3+, 5+, 5++. Dragon, so very hard to kill. An Exalted Sorcerer, level 2, with the Spell Familiar, Demonology on foot, Mark of Tzeentch. He's got 2 units of 5 Marauders, a unit of 12 Chaos Warriors with the War Banner and Mark of Tzeentch for his Exalted Sorcerer, 2 Chaos Chariots, and 3 Dragon Ogres. This is probably at 1,500 points very similar to something I would take to an event with Chaos. I do like Forsaken a lot, but there's and I might take them over the Chaos Chariots, but that's neither here nor there. Chaos Chariots are great. So
yeah, and I do think at this points level, you just need some speed in Warriors of Chaos. If you're not, especially if you're not taking knights, because straight up, without the chariots, you just have a dragon to go and pressure your opponent. You really don't have anything else that's going to close the distance. A dragon and Marauder Horseman, who gives it any shits. So yeah, I do like the addition of the chariots to make this have a little bit more forward pressure, some more go. Because you play into like dwarves or something, they're like, oh wow, we just get to shoot you for 4 of the 6 turns because you're just not going to make it in time otherwise. So that could be pretty good. This list is good, and I do think Warriors of Chaos is one of the lists that gets better at lower points levels as well. I think it may even be better at 1,500 than it is at 2,000. Because if everyone's just playing with like, these are our models, they are what they are because we have to have enough models. Well, your one model is usually better than everyone else's single model. Like a Warrior of Chaos is better than a Halberdier or 2 Halberdiers even.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for it's very hard to kill a Chaos Dragon at 1,500 points.
It's extremely hard.
And also the other thing about Warriors of Chaos, which neither of the big 2 lists took, but you can also choose to take like a Chaos Lord and a Sorcerer Lord at 1,500 points for Chaos, and you can't do that for most other armies. They don't have that 0-1 lock, right?
But you also then don't have an army because you spent like 900 points on characters.
750, right? But you're not taking a dragon. You're putting the Chaos Lord on a demonic mount or something, right?
Yep.
So in either case, like you have a lot of advantages in Chaos lower point levels than other people do. The other Chaos Warrior list that went 4-0-1, Matthew Clayton, he has a even more expensive Chaos Dragon build where he's got he's got the Crown of Everlasting Conquest. He took 3 Favors of the Gods. So this guy has been boned on the Gaze of the Gods so many times that he's just been like, never again. I'm never failing this roll. He took the Chaos Rune Sword, so he's going for some extra damage here. I'm not a big fan of the Chaos Rune Sword, but good for you, dude. Enchanting Aura and Acid Ichor. So every time he's taking a wound, he's killing something or trying to kill something. So a little more aggressive build here, but still at 1,500 points, it's really hard to kill the Chaos Dragon. So
yep.
And then he went all knights pretty much. He's got 3 units of 4 Chaos Knights with Mark of Khorne. One of them has a War Banner. A unit of 3 Dragon Ogres with great weapons, and then another unit of 4 Chosen Chaos Knights with the Banner of Rage. So he's got 4 Frenzied Knight units.
Wild.
And 3 Dragon Ogres and a dragon. So this is
just
full
go.
Send.
No brakes.
Yeah.
All gas. Send it. Push pressure. I like this. This might be more what I would do. I may not take Mark of Khorne all the time on all the knights because I feel like things can just get a little bit out of control. But I don't think that list is sick. And that much high save high damage output mobile at 1,500 points just seems oppressive.
Yeah.
It's so fast and tough, honestly. Like, it's tough. Like, it's all toughness 4, 3-up armor. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
5.
reckon this is sick.
Yeah. His only draw came to the guy that came like in 34th place in round 1, but it was Wood Elves. It was like it was a list with 6 Wild Riders, and sometimes if I had to guess how this list went based on the rest of the list, dude got off a couple really lucky arrow shots, and then 6 Wild Riders just kept hitting units of 4 Chaos Knights and killing them and overrunning into the next unit.
Yeah.
And killing them too, because Wild Riders will do a number on plain old Jane.
And then every unit of Chaos Knights killed 2 squads of Glade Guard and still didn't make their points back.
Exactly.
Yep. Wild. Dude, thank you so much for that rundown. That was exceptional. We will be chucking these in periodically every couple of months just to give you guys a bit of a snapshot of what's moving and shaking out there. But that's one of the stars of episodes you can come to expect from our show. Danny, what did you think of that? And what are your hot takes of what is moving and shaking out there?
I do like to see all the aggressive lists doing pretty well. It would be also nice to see, I guess the Vampire Counts wasn't super aggressive, right?
Yeah, it was kind of what we think our Vampire Councils plays.
Wildly enough, we have most of the extremes represented here. We have we had full cav High Elves, we had full cav Warriors of Chaos, and also a bit of a tweener Warriors of Chaos. But then we had pretty much full DACA Orcs and Goblins. And
that's true.
What was the other full DACA list? There was another really heavy shooting list. I might be tripping.
No one remembers already.
Yeah, it's already gone.
No, well, there was that mixed chaos list, the one that kind of did both, right? It had the dragon, and it also
had the dragon. That list was just perfectly crafted. I thought that list was very impressive. The way that you were able to get all those different facets of that army all in the same list is super impressive. Very well done.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, on that note, we might check out and sign out from this beautiful part 1. Hopefully, guys will come over and join us on part 2 over at that Old World Charm over in Patreon. But gentlemen, we're going to be answering a smattering of questions from our patrons, but mostly we're just going to be talking some absolute nonsense. And hopefully, you guys enjoy our personalities enough and find us entertaining enough that you will come and join us over there also. Do not miss out. But yes, we'll say our goodbyes, gentlemen, and we'll check out.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to That Old World Charm with those charming chaps, Adam, Danny, and Peter the Falcon. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.